Ooh, it is a cold day. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. As you can see, my Z06 is not in its normal spot broken. It is actually in the shop broken. Now, if you're new to the channel, I have a C6 Z06 and the Z06 comes in a manual transmission. Well, during December, I wrapped all my cars with Christmas lights and we took those cars out and had some fun with them. And I drove my Huracan, my one friend drove my Supra, my other drove my M4, which also broke that night, and my best friend John was driving the Corvette. And while we were driving, the shift linkage broke. And now my Corvette is stuck in first gear. So today, the plan was to fix the Corvette on some quick jacks. Now, quick jacks are a pretty cool tool, but they do not bring the car up high enough to where it would be super spacious underneath the car to lower the transmission and fix the linkage. So I have a lift now. That's right. We have installed my Max Jacks lift early. I was initially going to do that 2 weeks from now, but I contacted my concrete guy and he said since we added an additive into the concrete that makes it harden faster, it should be cured really fast, which means that it's safe to use a lift. So we drilled some holes in and the concrete looks good. But don't worry, this won't be the first car that this lift has seen. Last night we test fitted the Camry on the lift, and as you can see the Camry is still outside in one piece, kinda, so it works. So let's go ahead and throw this on the Max Jacks lift. All right, well, after some maneuvering with the jacks, because this car is too low to get on the lift on its own, I had to put on some blocks first. It's on the lift and hasn't fallen off. Now the next plan is we're gonna go ahead and just start draining the oil because I want to do an oil change as well as fix this linkage because this car hasn't had an oil change in a little bit. I think it's right at around 3,000 miles or so. I don't know the exact mileage. I did it when I did the headers. So I better be safe than sorry, get it done, and this time write it down. So drain the oil and then drop the exhaust and then see how we get to this linkage. All right, oil draining. Now I'm gonna take this exhaust off. Okay, so the exhaust is now out. It is right there at Joel's feet and the oil is finished draining. However, Remy's hands were really strong at the time of putting that oil filter on last time we did the oil change, and now that's coated in cold water from driving it in the rain. That is now frosted off because it's hot in here. It's very slick and I can't get off my hand. So we gotta go to O'Reilly's in the Lambo, sucks, get an oil filter tool to get that off and then get back in business. At the end of this video, I want you to tell me which car you think sounds better. This or the Corvette? I think it's gonna be close. Okay, we got the tool. Let's go back home and get to work. All right, I got loose with this. So nice to have the right tools. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, well, I kind of skipped this part because I don't think you really care, but this is probably the 50th bolt. And now, we have access to the torque tube. Now, this job is gonna be pretty freaking hard. Well, well, well. The man himself. How are you doing? He's actually been here for 2 hours, so we've been looking at this car for a little bit. And we have an answer for you and me. Now, when we took off the inspection tube, I said that this looks like a job that's gonna be harder than we thought. And it is. So, this is the torque tube, which then connects to the transmission and the diff. The linkage, if you listen, it's right at the top, and I'm gonna put up a picture of what it looks like. we have to get all of this, everything, off. Support the torque tube somehow, and once we get the transmission down, we will then be able to get this linkage off, rebuild the linkage, and put it into this transmission right here, bolt it back up to the torque tube, and Bob's your uncle. So we got a lot of stuff to take off. I'm just gonna set the camera on a tripod and voice over all this stuff to explain what we're doing, but yeah, this is not gonna be fun. Now before we could drop the transmission, we had to unhook the suspension from the car. So to get to the suspension, we had to take off the wheels. Once we got the wheels out of the way, we could then get to the brake calipers and then the control arms. Once that was all done, I could then unhook the shocks from both sides, take off the rotor, then take off the tie rod ends, the ABS plug, and finally the e-brake. And that was everything that was inside the wheel well that needed to come off. Which then led us to lowering the subframe, finally. But there was an issue. This job was gonna be a whole lot harder than we thought without a very important tool. And that tool was at Harbor Freight, and Harbor Freight was closed. So then this whole job had to be moved to the next day. Well, it is now day 2 of this journey. I had to go to Harbor Freight this morning and pick up a transmission jack because we're gonna have to disconnect the transmission from the torque tube, and it's kind of a pain by yourself without a transmission jack. So I went to Harbor Freight, got this, 125 bucks. That's what people were using on YouTube, so that's what we're gonna be using on YouTube. Now this is called a transmission jack, but we're not just gonna use it for the transmission. We're also going to be using it for the subframe. Now how this thing works is it has 4 wheels, and on one side you can attach a ratchet or an impact, and it raises and lowers the tray. That way you can put it onto something and then put the ratchet strap over to hold it down onto the tray. Once everything's disconnected, you just lower it down, and it's easy as that. So with that being said, once the transmission jack was set up, I disconnected the diff bushings from the subframe, which then disconnected the transmission and differential from the subframe, so the subframe would come out in one piece. Now once I got the diff bushings disconnected, that wasn't the last thing that I had to do. While I slowly lowered the subframe down, I had to disconnect another brake line that went from the driver's side to the passenger side. So once I unhooked that, I plugged it up the way nothing got inside it. And then there were also 2 cords on both sides of the subframe that were clipped in. Those were for the ABS on the driver and passenger sides. Once those were disconnected, I then had to take off the axles. Never done that before in my life. It was super scary, but all I had to do was put a little pry bar in there and it just slides out of the diff. Super simple. Definitely overcomplicated it by scaring myself. After all that was out of the way, subframe came down super smoothly, and the next thing to do was get the transmission out. All right, so at this point, we have all of the sensors disconnected from the trans, and then there's a trans cooler line over there, then there's another trans cooler line back there on the driver's side. So I gotta take those off, and then we have a bunch of 13mm bolts. I think there's 8 of them, holding on the trans to the bell housing. And once you disconnect those, we should be able to see this thing come down. It's out. I got the transmission out. This is my first time ever taking out a transmission, and it's on a Z06. Very fortunate to be able to say that. But this is what broke. Still in debating if it broke on Jean or if Jean broke it. But this connects here, and this connects to the shifter, and there is supposed to be some push pins. These pins, one pushes into this, other pushes in to this, and holds this all together. And yeah, that's how it all works. And these gave out. Don't know how, but they did. What's next is I have billet parts, better than OEM. It's gonna eliminate some slop, even though this car barely had any slop to begin with, in the shifting. So we gotta press these on with a hammer, put it back onto the transmission, then weave it up to the front, connect it to the shifter, and then before we even put together the car, I'm just going to give the shifter some shifts by pushing in the clutch and see if the transmission works. We got one more pin, and that's pinning it to the transmission. Now, I'm sorry to interrupt today's video, but we gotta thank today's sponsor, Wolfbox. Now, driving around cars, especially in the wintertime, can be very cold and very dirty. And also, we can't forget the snow that piles up on our cars whenever we get a snowstorm. Which is why I'm here to present to you the Wolfbox Super Power Turbo Fan. Now, this little guy packs a huge punch. Let me show you. Now, say it's super cold outside and it just snowed and you don't want to use your snow scraper. Well, you don't have to get your hands dirty with the Wolfbox. All you gotta do is spray off all that snow with your turbo fan. Keep in mind, it snowed here 3 days ago and this snow is literally iced up and it's still coming off and it's taking off some of the ice with it. This little gadget on its highest setting can go up to 185 miles per hour and 70 CFM. And we have 3 different modes here. This one's the highest, and then we also have the lowest mode, which is 30,000 RPM. Then we have 80,000 RPM, and then we have 150,000 RPM. And this thing, it goes. Also, let's say your dashboard has dust on it, or in my case, dust and glass. This thing will easily clear all that off. And the best part about the Wolfbox Turbo Fan is it's not going to die on you immediately. This thing has 100 minutes of battery life on first gear. Also, the Wolfbox air duster has multiple different nozzles. That way you're going to have the right one for the right job. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, click the link in the description below, pick up your Wolfbox air duster now. That way you don't have to get your hands cold this winter when you have to get snow off your cars in the morning. Now let's get back to the video. All right, this is the part where we find out if we can get the Corvette out of first gear. I have everything plugged in, all the harnesses in the transmission line, bell housing bolts are tight. And then up top, I put this Torx bit bolt back in. That should be enough to be able to pull this whole thing out. All right, all I gotta do is pull it out at first. It works! Oh, let's go! That's neutral! That's neutral! Let's go. It is so much more rewarding when you do jobs like this and it works than any 30-minute to an hour job. Like this is, we took the whole transmission out. Nah. Now this was a huge win, but we weren't out of the woods yet. We still had 50% of a job left to do. We had to put the subframe back in, connect the diff bushings back to the subframe to hold everything in place, put in the subframe bolts, connect the ABS, the e-brake, the tie rod ends, upper control arms, the axles, the rotors, the calipers, everything. And then of course, finally we had to put the exhaust on and put oil back in the car from the oil change we initially did at the beginning of the video. And then we were ready to have our first start in 2025. Okay, doors open. It's time to turn this car on for the first time in a long time. Okay, at this stage in the game, oil level is perfect. Now we have to find gears, which is the next kind of difficult part. So with this, there is a little lock right here, and you can see how the shifter moves like this. even though we're in neutral, see how it's moving? The linkage is here, this is here, and this is moving without the linkage moving with it. That's because I haven't tightened this yet. So we have to make it work so that when we do tighten it, it finds all the gears. Because right now, when I tightened it, I can only find 1 through 6. I could not find reverse. So we're gonna keep messing with this until we find reverse, and then we're gonna take it for a drive without the center console in it, just to make sure everything feels right, and then we'll put everything back together. Because taking out the center console takes like 30 minutes, and I would like to not take it out twice. Now I can't find first. This is not fun. There's reverse. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Reverse. Okay, we're gonna lock this down, then we're gonna go for a test drive. If I could shift comfortably without having to look down and like see where the shifter's located just off feel, then that means that I got it where I used to have it. Yeah, that's where I want it. That's where I want it. So let's go home, put the center console in, get gas, then maybe by then my friend that broke this car or this car broke on will be here, and I might give him the keys. Well, she's all back together. All this is a few screws and clips and stuff, so I didn't really show it. We got traction control now. Now we can turn that off. Seat warmers, and we shouldn't get choked to death by fumes now, but I think Jean is here. Let's see if he's willing to take this car out for a little drive. Where is he?
What's that weird noise?
You know there's a car outside?
What's that weird noise outside?
You want to redeem yourself?
What do you mean, redeem myself? I can drive.
Okay.
Shit.
Okay, I'll give you.
Want me to drive the Corvette?
I'll give you the keys.
Hell yeah! Let's go. I don't know. This is a trap. This is a trap. You sabotage the transmission. You're gonna let me drive it. You put a piece of glass in there somewhere or a bolt.
And then Joel just showed up. You can hop in the hatch. It didn't break.
Wow. Third works.
There you go.
It feels better, actually. It feels better.
Yeah, because I went
it's
to
not as clicky.
I upgraded to a different linkage.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's safe. You did it.
It's still filling up? Oh my god!
Oh, wait. My bad. 1 second.
Why do you do it in first gear? That's so bad! Oh, that's so bad, Jake. Oh, f that's scary, dude. Oh my god.
Just for a little padding. Was that fun though?
No! What?
Can you clutch jump in second gear?
In this,
of course
yeah.
you can.
I don't know why you would want to do that.
How do you feel? Does it feel good that the car's back?
No.
Put the camera on Joel real quick. Why? That's not fun?
That's not fun at all. Nope.
This car is so fun.
It's very fun to drive.
It's very fun to drive.
Fun to drive.
I think it's more fun when you're passenger.
No. Nope.
When you're a passenger and I'm driving. Now, since the boys are here, we are doing one more thing before we end off this video. We are going to move the M4 into the shop. Because that's right, we're going to fix the car here. I spoke with Remy, and where he's at with his 720, it doesn't make sense to wait another 2 to 3 weeks to get his lift in and then have my car go there. So, mainly going to be me, hands on deck with the M4, pulling the motor and stuff. And then when I hit spots where I need Remy's help, give him a call, spot his gas, and he'll come out and help us fix the M4. But until I start ripping apart this car, I would like to have the car in there. And since I have 2 other able-bodied men, we can roll the car in now. Stop. Well, here is my big frozen hunk of metal. We're gonna let her thaw out here for a couple days, and then we will get to this car and start tearing it apart, pulling the motor, and seeing what has gone wrong. I already have a parts list of everything I would need to get to be able to hit my goal of 800 horsepower to potentially 1,000. So I have that list, but before I get that list, I need to know if this motor is even savable, and if it is savable, explore that option or other options if it's not. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. Never pulled a motor before, but we did pull a transmission this video, and that was a first, so we're gonna have another first very soon. However, on that note, I think we're gonna end today's video with the Huracan and the Corvette in the garage. But I have a question. When do I get rid of this car? I know that I've been mentioning selling the car or doing a giveaway on it, and I've made up my mind. I am going to do a giveaway on this car. It's very risky for me because the amount of money I could get with selling this car might be more than if I did a giveaway on it, because obviously people have to enter, and if not a lot of people want this car, then I take a loss, but someone ends up getting their dream car. I was able to achieve this dream car for me a couple years ago, and putting it into somebody else's hands would be really freaking cool. So the plan is to do a giveaway on this car. It's final. It's that decision that I've made. But now the question is when. The car has brand new oil now. The car has brand new linkage. I'm going to do diff service, clutch service, coolant flush, and transmission flush soon once we get the M4 off the lift. But other than that, just basically little touches here and there that make the car perfect, but it's done. There's nothing else I want to do to it. So I was thinking April, sometime in the spring, because a lot of you have snow or have cold weather. You're not gonna get this car and drive it once you win it. So you tell me, what do you think? Should we keep the car a little longer? Because the minute we do a giveaway on it, once we get the income from that, we can then purchase a C7 Z06 and get a new build started on the channel. However, the one thing contradicting me doing this right now and giving away now is the fact that we have the Supra, we have this car, and we have to fix the M4. So we have 3 cars under the knife. It's kind of nice to have one car just finished. So yeah. But with that being said, I think it's gonna be the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell. And the Corvette's back, baby. I'll see you guys next time. Drive safe.